Hi, I'm Joy Kelly. This is Cook with Joy, and today we're going to make one of my favorites, vegan tomato soup. Now, I love tomato soup. I've loved it my whole life, and when I was little, we had those little cans of Campbell's tomato soup. Do you know those cans? And I loved them with Velveeta grilled cheese sandwiches. It was my favorite thing. And as I got older, of course, I learned that that was not so good for me. And so I was kind of bereft. I found a great vegan tomato soup recipe. It was hard to find the grilled cheese part of the thing with gluten-free bread, and I'll show that in another video. But today I'm going to show you a really super quick vegan tomato soup that you can make in minutes, and you'll love it. You won't miss anything about the dairy that's in traditional tomato soup. And I want to tell you why tomato soup is so good for you. I had no idea. There are several reasons. Hold on just one second. So I always knew that tomatoes were good for you because of the lycopene, and lycopene is really good for anything that's got red pigment in it. So watermelons, strawberries, tomatoes, they're really good for preventing sunburn. The lycopene, and if you want to think about it, you think about tomatoes, they're like getting heat on them all the time. So they've got naturally, they have these antioxidants in them that repel sunburn. So those are called lycopenes, and it helps for everyone to repel sunburn, but also helps men to prevent prostate cancer. It also helps with male fertility. It actually improves sperm health, which I thought was fascinating. Who knew? Improves bone health because of the vitamin K, calcium, and the lycopene. Heart health, of course, because of the vitamin C. Really helps with arterial protection. I already told you about the sunburn. Circulation because of the selenium that's in tomatoes. Mental health because of the copper and the potassium. Tissue protection and regeneration because of the vitamin C and vitamin A. Really helps with tissues and ligaments. Helps in weight loss, and that's mostly because of the fullness, and I find that true with any soup. The carotenoids are awesome for cancer prevention, and the chromium is really good. There's lots of chromium in tomatoes, and it's really good for helping with diabetes, preventing diabetes and helping manage diabetes if you have it. Now, most of us probably buy tomato soup, and maybe if you're not buying Campbell's anymore, you've graduated to something like this Organic Imagine, and this is really delicious, and they have a low sodium version, so this is light in sodium, and the sodium content is only 300 milligrams. Now, if you've listened to my videos before, you know that I want you to match the number of milligrams of sodium to the number of calories that are in a serving. With soup, that is super, no pun intended, that's super hard to find. This has 80 calories in it and 300 milligrams, and this is considered low sodium. I'm going to show you another one of their non-low sodiums. This is a sweet pea, and this has 590 milligrams for an 80 calorie serving of their soup. And if you buy like a traditional brand, I'm not going to name any names, but if you go to the grocery store and you pick up a traditional brand and you look at this nutrition facts label, you're going to see that many of them have over 1,000 milligrams of sodium. And keeping in mind that you're only supposed to have the number of calories that you're having a day. So if you're averaging 2,000 calories, that's 2,000 milligrams. And if you've got 1,000 milligrams coming from the sodium from the soup that you're eating, you're kind of screwed for the rest of the day. So you want to get really good at watching sodium content. The other reason that I like to make my own tomato soup, cost for one thing. This is a $4 container, and it says it has 4 servings in it, but it's only a cup, and really when I'm having some soup, I want more than a cup. So this maybe has 2 to 3 servings for me. So for $5, it's not that bad, but if I'm on a budget, I can make a whole pot of soup in this. I make a whole pot of soup, and you're going to watch me today how we make it with, just for pennies. So the other thing is that I get to control the nutrient content that's in the soup that I'm using. If I want to use fresh tomatoes off my garden, that's completely awesome. Hold on, I'll show you some. So we could use these. Look at how beautiful these are. My husband just picked these, and they're amazing, 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 and I love them. But For ease, today we're gonna, because you have to stew them before you use them in a soup because we're gonna blend them up and get them really creamy. Now if I was making like a chunky soup, like this for instance, this came from Whole Foods. This is a pre-made soup. I wanted to show you this too, once again because of the sodium content, 450 milligrams of sodium. This little cup of soup was, I believe, $7. So there's probably 2 servings in here. It says there's 3 if you only have a cup, but for me this would probably be 2 servings. It's a garden vegetable soup. We'll make this in another video. But once again, being able to control how fresh the food is and being able to put in it what I actually want. So watch how quick this is. It's super quick. First, we're going to start out with a nice soup pot. And you always want to have a good heavy-duty soup pot. I like this one. It's all clad. And I like to get the olive oil. We're just putting a teaspoon of olive oil in there. Really nice extra virgin olive oil. Just a teaspoon. But if you've watched my other videos, you know that you could just put some vegetable broth in here if you were trying to manage your weight. And I just like to use a little bit of oil because I like the flavor. We have many, many, many thousands of taste buds on our tongue, but the 3 dominant ones are sugar, salt, and fat. And so if you can satisfy those 3, you can sneakily say, okay, I don't need any more fat. I don't need to eat a whole bag of potato chips because I got a little bit of fat. I got a teaspoon of oil in this entire pot. So we're going to take a cup of chopped onion, and I have a little bit more than a cup because I like them. And remember, I've told you before about the quercetin that's in onion and how anti-inflammatory and how great for gut health using onion is. It's wonderful for a bunch of things. It's antiviral. Now you can hear that hissing because I got the oil hot first, and that's really important. And then we're going to add, it says to add 1 clove of garlic, but I like garlic a lot. And Allison is which is a component of the garlic, is such a good antiviral that I sneak in a little bit more. I love the flavor, and there's so much good that onion and garlic do for you. So I'm putting that in. And I want to get that just sauteing a little bit. I want it to get soft, a little bit translucent. And I'm seeing that I probably want to add a little bit of veggie broth to it because it's going to get a little bit sticky before it gets translucent. So hold on 1 second. And I'm adding a little bit of veggie broth to this, carefully measuring as I do so, as you can see. And just letting that cook a little bit. I want to bring the heat down just a tinch. So one of the things that makes the vegan tomato soup creamy is that instead of using dairy in it, we're going to use cashews. You could use pine nuts, you could use almonds if you wanted to. There's a variety of things that you could use. You could even use cauliflower. We're going to use cashews today for a couple of reasons. I want to give it a little bit more substance. It's going to have some more calories in it. Cashews are fabulous for brain health, and I can always use all the help I can get with brain health. And they're also a very mild flavor, so they're not going to give it a distinct flavor like using walnuts or pine nuts or almonds would do. So as this is sauteing, we're going to take that. I've got a half a cup of cashews that has been soaking in a half a cup of filtered water. Really important, the filtered water. And I'm going to use my Vitamix. Now, can you guys see that? If you don't have a Vitamix, you'll want to soak this for a little bit longer. And it doesn't have to be a Vitamix. It could be a Ninja. It could be anything that's high-powered. But we're just going to pour that right into the blender. And as my onions are sauteing, I'm going to just pour this really fast. And like I said, if you have a lower-powered blender, you're going to want to soak the cashews for a little bit longer because we want to get them really, really, really creamy. So close your ears. Here it comes. Okay, so that's good. How are my onions doing? They're looking pretty good. I'm gonna let those go a little bit longer, and probably it'd be good to shut the blender off all the way, yeah? All right, so that's shut off. And next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the stewed tomatoes. Now, if you wanted to, you could do 4 cups of stewed tomatoes, and you could go through the whole thing of making stewed tomatoes. I like to buy stewed tomatoes, and there's so many good options. Now, once again, we're gonna check for the sodium content, and what you're looking for is no salt added. So if you can see this down at the bottom, no salt added. This is one of my favorite brand names, Bio Nature, And they are an affordable organic tomato, and they don't add any salt at all. So the sodium in this is exactly what you would expect from tomatoes naturally. 30 milligrams of sodium, 30 calories. Imagine that, nature knew what they were doing. So I'm gonna shut the onions off. Now you can get these in a can, or you can get this Palmy brand in a Tetra Pak. These are not whole, so I'm not gonna use these today. I'm gonna use these, and then I'm also gonna use some Fire Roasted by Muir Glen, just to give it a little bit of extra kick. I do wanna tell you about just traditional, now these are not bad. This is Whole Foods brand, it's called 365. It's got a non-BPA lining, and I like that, but it has 220 milligrams of sodium. Now, if you compare this to the big names that are out there, that's much lower, but you know they've added salt to this, and a lot of times they do that so that, once again, remember we talked about the 3 dominant taste buds, salt, sugar, and fat? They are tricking you into thinking that you love this because it's feeding your salt taste buds on your tongue. So we're gonna avoid using that one, and we're gonna use the Bio Nature, and we're just gonna add the tomatoes and the onions and the garlic, and we're gonna add those to the blender. We're gonna blend it all up, and then all of that is simply gonna go into a saucepan. It's really, really, really gonna be fast. So I'm going to actually add this first to the pan so that I can just get a little bit of that onion flavor already kind of cooking in with those stewed tomatoes. Just a little bit of that. And then I'm going to pour that into the Vitamix. So this could get a little bit messy. Let me get a little towel here, and we're just gonna pour that into the Vitamix. Let's hope this all works. That's why I put on this cute little apron today. I did it without even spilling the soup. Not too bad. Now there's a little bit of onion left in the bottom of the pan, and we don't want to have any chunks in this soup at all. So I want to use the same pan just because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to clean it. So we're gonna, I'm gonna scrape that all and make sure that I get it all into the pan. Every last little bit. Yum, yum, yum. I wish you guys could smell this. They're gonna do that someday. I think they're gonna get a smelling feature on YouTube. I think that's gonna happen. And I'm gonna add one more can because the 4 cups of the stewed tomatoes would equal about 3 14-ounce cans. So that's what I'm putting in right now. And last little thing, this has got the Fire Roasted extra component to it. And I'm gonna blend that all again, so wait 1 second while I make a bunch of noise. The better. So yeah, having a high-powered blender works. Also, if you have one of those blenders that you can stick in the pot, they work as well. I've never had as great of success with those, but they do work. So you can see how smooth and delicious. I just want to drink that. And I'm going to pour it back into the pan, and it's really thick. You see how thick that was? I got to show you that. That is super thick. And that's just from using the cashews. I mean, this is thicker than the tomato soup that I just got out of that other can. So we're going to turn that back on medium heat. And it says to add oil, but I don't think I'm going to add any more oil to it because it also asks for some coconut milk. And I think the coconut milk is going to give it a real creaminess that I'm looking for. And I also know there's some added benefits to adding the coconut milk. So I think I'm going to avoid the extra olive oil, but I am going to put in a 1/4 cup of coconut milk. See how that does? Oh, yummy. This is going to be so good. You guys want to come over afterwards? And we could all eat this together. This looks delicious. Delicious. And it also says to add a tablespoon of sugar. And I'm going to add just a tinge of sugar, not a whole tablespoon. I don't even really keep much sugar around the house, but I've got these little packets. So that I use the little packets and I use sugar in the raw. And I keep them in packets because I don't use very much. It doesn't get crystallized. And so when I do use it it's still soft and really ready to go. I'm also going to add just a little tinge of salt. And then I'm going to add a little bit of basil. And it says to use dried basil or fresh, either one. So I'm going to add fresh. And I'm going to take it now. When you do basil, what you want to do is you kind of want to roll it up together, and then you want to do what's called chiffonade. And chiffonade is a really thin little strip that we're cutting. So let me just show you what that looks like. So when you roll it up and you cut it, can you see how tiny that is? See how teeny tiny? So that's chiffonade. And we're going to cut it up really small. And I'm going to have about a tablespoon of that in the soup. And that's just going to really bring out the flavor of the tomatoes. The Italians really knew what they were doing when they grew tomatoes and basil together, I think. I can't think of anything I would love better. Now, as you can see when I'm cooking, I'm not big on measuring. So I like to put everything together so it's right there, so I don't have to go, oh shoot, what did I forget? And I'm not having to constantly refer to my recipe. But this is looking just amazing. The smell is outrageous. I want to show it to you. And this is what I am going to be having for dinner tonight. We had kind of a crazy week of eating lots of stuff that I maybe shouldn't have. But look at how beautiful that is. Once again, oh shoot, that got on the camera. I'm going to post this on my website. And bon appetit. See you next time.